afternoon and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Jeremy Cole, coming to you live from Studio B in USC's Annenberg Media Center.
And I'm Hannah Abu-Al-Hajj. It's Wednesday, February 8th. On today's show, LeBron James makes NBA history with a new scoring record. And we get a prediction on what California might look like after a large earthquake.
All that and more
on From Where We Are. But first, Issa Johnson joins us here in the studio to give us the headlines. Issa, what's going on in the world?
Well, Hannah, CEO Bob Iger says Disney plans to lay off 7,000 workers. That's about 3% of their total global workforce. The entertainment giant says it also plans to cut $5.5 billion in costs. The move marks the most significant action Bob Iger has taken since returning as CEO in November. The U.S. Mint says iconic Cuban singer Celia Cruz will be the first Latina singer featured on the quarter. It's part of the American Woman Quarters program. Cruz, known as the Queen of Salsa, will be honored along with 4 others by appearing on the quarter next year. Crypto.com Arena wasn't the only place on fire last night. In front of a full house, Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James scored the 2 points that allowed him to pass the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the NBA's all-time scoring record, a moment basketball fans everywhere will never forget. And even though the game was filled with A-listers like Jay-Z, Usher, Denzel Washington, and basketball royalty, Kareem himself, Magic Johnson, and Dwayne Wade, the after party was sizzling too. James, his wife, and celebs like Kelly Rowland and Karrueche Tran celebrated in style at the Floor Room in West Hollywood. And last, USC's School of Pharmacy now has a new name. It's called the USC Alfred E. Mann School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. Mann was a renowned physicist and philanthropist. A small ceremony was held in front of the health science campus. And that's it for headlines. I'm Issa Johnson. Back to you, Hannah.
Thanks for stopping in, Issa, and thanks for the scoop.
It seems President Biden may have cemented his position as the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential election. Last night, Biden delivered the State of the Union address to a newly elected Congress. And as Alexa Hernandez-Diaz reports, even in the face of hostility, Biden remained optimistic.
A smiling President Biden looked optimistic for most of his 73-minute speech in the House chamber last night. He focused on topics like healthcare and the economy. His calls for bipartisanship and goals for police reform and gun control were delivered with a sense of hope that proved to be the theme of the address.
Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong.
But that didn't sit well with some Republicans. There were moments President Biden was met with heckles from Republicans yelling things like liar from the seats of their chamber.
I'll give you a copy. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you.
The GOP's response was delivered by Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who criticized the craziness of Democratic policies.
Biden and the Democrats have failed you. They know it, and you know it. And it's time for a change.
But Senior Fellow for the Center on Communication Leadership and Policy at USC Annenberg, Morley Winograd, says the State of the Union address was a performance of the ages.
Nobody in the Democratic Party is going to challenge a guy with that kind of political and policy expertise.
Morley attributes Biden's ability to appeal to the concerns of blue-collar workers, and he says the response Biden provoked amongst the Republicans was one of the best components of his speech.
It was a classic six-pack working Joe Biden from Scranton, Pennsylvania speech with a lot of focus on what working class people have experienced, a lot of sympathy for it.
Morley predicts the speech will result in a temporary 5-point boost in approval ratings, bumping it up as high as 50%, but in fact, it's even higher. The CNN flash poll has his approval rating sitting at 72%. Though this number will likely fall, it will provide a target for the 2024 Biden campaign. With the primaries on the horizon, Democrats may look to ride the momentum from Biden's speech into a possible successful re-election campaign. For Annenberg Media, I'm Alexa Hernandez-Diaz.
With earthquakes in the news lately, what is on the mind of those preparing for one in an earthquake-prone state like California? Our executive producer, Spencer Klein, has more on the story of retrofitting in the state.
Last week, a massive 7.5 earthquake rocked southern Turkey and northern Syria in a catastrophe that has reached a death toll of over 11,000 and counting. Entire villages and buildings crumbled in the matter of only a couple of minutes, and many are wondering what is there to expect if something similar were to happen in California. It's common knowledge for Angelenos and Californians that the state has not just one, but multiple fault lines that ride through the state. At any moment, any one of them can shift, causing an earthquake analogous to the one recently seen in Turkey. Professor John Vidal is a seismologist at the University of Southern California. He says that the last time something akin to a large quake happened in California was over 100 years ago. It managed to break an 8.0 magnitude on the Richter scale.
So, the first order was a big earthquake that ran right through a lot of towns. And I guess the secondary factor is, a lot of the buildings were not adequate. I mean, it's hard to make buildings that can stand up to that kind of earthquake.
But that's not to say that all hope is lost. Vidal claims that the reason the fatalities in Turkey are so high can be due to the lack of resources the country has to restructure its buildings, something in California has steadily prepared itself for.
But in Turkey, they don't have the resources to identify the buildings with problems and to fix them. So that was probably a factor, the old buildings. And then, third factor is whenever you have 10,000 buildings shaken, a few of them are going to be made wrong. So, either through sloppiness or cost cutting, some of those buildings were probably deficient.
The process began after the Northridge earthquake in 1994, where a number of older buildings completed with old masonry tactics tended to be the ones with the most damage. There is really no way to be truly prepared, but the matter is depending on building a city from the ground up, which to many just seems unrealistic.
But, the real challenge is the problems are hard to predict. So we don't really know how prepared we are. And, we know there are a lot of things we should do, but many are tremendously expensive.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Spencer Klein.
The greatest of all time? The argument can certainly be made. Last night, LeBron James broke the scoring record for most points made in an NBA career. Our executive producer, Spencer Klein, went to the Crypto.com arena last night to talk to Laker fans.
Last night, Annenberg Radio spoke to fans at the Lakers Thunder game at the Crypto.com arena who were able to witness history after LeBron James broke the scoring record in the NBA. Here's what they had to say.
This is probably the most impressive basketball career there ever has been.
How y'all feel about LeBron tonight?
I don't like him, but he like that, though. He deserves everything he gets. He earned it.
I think he will be the greatest of all time. You think he will? Yes.
People felt a mix of emotions after watching LeBron break a record that is held by former Lakers player Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for nearly 40 years.
Really happy for LeBron to put up the 38+ thousand that Kareem did without shooting three-pointers. Ridiculously impressive. LeBron's had the luxury of a three-point shot than you used to get back then. But still, it's a ridiculously impressive record to be breaking.
Michael Lombardo, however, said that fans are more focused on the championships rather than breaking the scoring record.
This is LA, and all we care about is championships. This is a big occasion. We're excited about it and everything, but you got to win those championships. They're going to be here in LA.
Overall, the fans sounded enthusiastic to be able to witness the historic moment take place.
I'm wearing a Kobe shirt, so it's hard for me to say greatest of all time. But I do got to say, I respect the fact that he's going in year 20. He's about to break the record. That shows longevity. LA is pretty tough to please, but I got to give him his respect.
Crazy. I just witnessed history. I just can't believe it. Like, I'm going to tell my kids about this in like 70 years. I just seen LeBron do it, man. Crazy.
Yeah, GOAT, baby, the GOAT.
LeBron is definitely the GOAT, the one, the only, right there.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Spencer Klein.
Next Wednesday, USC Visions and Voices will be hosting AIM by Kyle Abraham in Untitled Love. Set to a soundtrack comprised of songs by Grammy award-winning R&B artist D'Angelo, the program will center on themes about self and Black love.
Today, we are joined by Marie Wren Velez, the Assistant Executive Director of Visions and Voices at USC. Marie, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So our first question is, for students who may be unfamiliar, will you please tell us what Visions and Voices does here at USC?
Yes, as the Arts and Humanities program here at USC, we put on free events. We collaborate with faculty and deans from across the university to put on events that range from performances in dance, music, and theater, as well as film screenings, workshops, panel discussions, and more. There's a lot of hands-on stuff and things that we're really here so that students have access to engage with the arts and humanities.
And it seems like there's a really wide variety of the stuff that you guys host. So I was wondering, how does Visions and Voices decide what events are hosted at the university?
It's actually a really interesting process. We have lots of different ways that ideas or projects can become a Visions and Voices event or program. And so it can be, so one way is that faculty from all across the university are able to propose events, and it goes through a panel selection process or committee selection process. The deans also of all of the art schools have the capability to also put on events through Visions and Voices. And then we have our internal team. Our team is really small. We have about 8 people in our full-time staff who all work together, and we and from our relationships with artists as well as with managers and agents, we kind of are able to figure out what kind of events and programs we would love to present here at USC. And that can also come from the provost office or the president's office, and people come to us for lots of collaborations and partnerships. So it really is like a giant campus-wide program.
Wow, that's really cool. I'm more curious, specifically moving towards AIM in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it kind of the decision made to set AIM by Kyle Abraham to the music by R&B legend D'Angelo in specific?
Well, this is a piece that Kyle Abraham and his company AIM by Kyle Abraham has been touring for a couple of years. And so we've been interested in working with Kyle Abraham for a long time. In 2021, he joined the faculty here at USC at the USC Kaufman School of Dance. And so, and I want to say that we met Kyle about 5 or 6 years ago. When we presented Wendy Whalen, who's a ballet dancer from New York City Ballet. They had worked together on a project called Restless Creature. And so, I don't know, it's just he has been an artist we have been interested in presenting. I have seen his work in New York a few times, and it's just gorgeous. His company, his dancers, all of the artists are beautiful dancers, and what I've seen like a snippet of An Untitled Love, and in addition to being a personal fan of D'Angelo's music, also just found myself very moved by the short excerpt that I got to see, and I've heard only amazing things about this piece. So we thought, especially with February and Black History Month, as well as being close to Valentine's Day and wanting to really project self-love and Black love across the university and to be able to present it here, we thought it was a great opportunity. We were really happy we were able to work it out.
That's amazing. And you actually already answered my next question, which was going to be related to, an event happening during Black History Month that promotes Black artistry, Black history, Black love, which is really amazing. So, as a dancer myself, I'm freaking out. This sounds amazing. I would love to attend. So for any students, faculty, staff, anyone who's interested in going to this specific event, can you tell us a little bit about where they can find the information, as well as any other events that are hosted by Visions and Voices?
Yes, Visions Voices hosts about 100 events throughout the academic school year. So all events are free. That is another thing I forgot to mention. So check out our free events at visionsandvoices.usc.edu. And you can also find us on social across all of our channels. We are at VAIM V. It's at USC V and V. So that's how you can find us and check out all of the information. We have lots of free events coming up tonight. We're doing a screening of Uprooted, which is about the history of jazz dance, followed by a panel conversation with some folks from the Gloria Coffin School of Dance. And then we also have coming up the week after, Kyle Abraham, an evening with Nicole Hannah-Jones, who's the author of the 1619 Project. And then the following week is the USC Comedy Festival that we are presenting alongside the USC School of Cinematic Arts.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Jeremy, will we be seeing you there next week?
I think so. No shortage of events, that's for sure.
Yeah, no shortage of events. And then also Black events should also be all throughout the year. So we also want to make sure that there's plenty of programming that is diverse and not just regulated to February.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Marie.
Thank you for having me. It was nice to talk
and
to you.
We'll see you at some of those events.
Of course.
And that's all the time we have today on From Where We Are. This show was produced by Guillermo Guerrero, Spencer Klein, and Issa Johnson.
Derek Renfro composed our theme music. Spencer Klein directed. Tony Fajardo is our live stream manager. And thank you to our technical director, Sebastian Gruba, our digital producer, Graham Clark, and our coach, Tina Rubio.
Be sure to check us out on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News and on Spotify.
From all of us at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for From Where We Are.